All right, let's finish what we have started. This will be the last video, and let me quickly show you one thing more. Um, this is Corona rendering. I prepared this particular tutorial. This particular image is for a tutorial about Corona, a complete deep dive into Corona, and we are going to be exploring many things, many things. So it's going to be a video tutorial, but it's going to be much more complex than what we have now because we are going to explore different lighting scenario, starting from scratch, from modeling to actually the post-production. So I've not recorded it yet, but it shall be recorded. We are going to be dealing with material by ourselves. This kind of material, you can create it right from scratch, by yourself. And, it's just to give you that creative freedom that you know that if you get any kind of job, you can actually use Corona to actually do those jobs. So it's going to be out and you are going to be notified when it comes out. I just want to show you now that it's going to come. Now let's just go to what we have been working on. So now we have this, and there's a lot of things that we'll talk about. And the first thing that we are going to talk about is about the exposure. So in Corona, there's something called tone mapping, and it is enabled. That this is it. So I can disable it. When you disable it, you see what you have. It's totally different. When you enable it, you see the difference. And in front of it, you will see the this arrow that you can use to elapse and collapse things. And from there, you are going to see we have some, you know, things that we can actually turn on and off. So the most important thing for me now is to turn off this A6OT, and you can see everything looks somehow. Now we have what is called simple exposure. So what is an exposure? Exposure is the way your image look or the way your image is perceived. Now this is the image I always use to explain exposure. So now this is the correct exposure. It does not have, it just look normal. So there is no over bright spaces. Every place that is dark have the range of darkness they're supposed to have. Every place that is, bright have the range of brightness they're supposed to have. So it is in the middle. But if you check to this side, we have overexposure, but it's still a little bit, acceptable because it's not too bright. You get, so it's brighter, but you know it's not too bright, so we can accept it. But here is overexposure where all the colors are losing, you know, all the objects rather are losing their colors, their materials to white. You can see white is overriding everything. So this is overexposure. On the other hand, we have underexposure as well, which means that the image, is losing its color to gray or some sort of, darker color. You can see here and here too. So that is everything about exposure. How your eye see image or perceive the world around you is actually what is called exposure. Give me some minutes. There seemed to be a bird that came to the window to disturb. You could hear it screeching already. So let me just undo that one out. So if you the visitor have gone. So if you look at this image, you will see that we are losing everything to white. That means we have overexposure. And what can we do to handle the exposure? There are many ways to handle exposure. I don't want to stress you on that, but the simplest way to handle it is to come to tone mapping and reduce the exposure. It's on 0 now, so I'm going to reduce it to something is wrong. Okay, so I'm going to reduce the exposure to -10. So it didn't want to you can see as I'm reducing it. So you can reduce it to the barest minimum that you think is okay. And now that is how I got the image back. Now the image is looking really really nice now because I undo the exposure. The problem with that is when you undo the exposure, the image look flat. When we say image look flat, it means that it's a little bit boring. The shadows are not strong, the light itself are not strong. So I think point 0.5 is okay for this. So this area still look overexposed a little. Maybe we should just go 0.6. And what can you do? Well, you can bump up your contrast. So I can put the contrast on 2 or 3, and you can see the difference now. So it's on 1 before, but now on 3. And I still think maybe I should use 0.5 here. 0.5 seems to be okay, even though this area still look a little bit off, but you can see all the materials, all the textures here, they are coming out, and everything is looking really really cool. And you can add to it, you can add filmic. So now this all these elements, I'm going to work on the saturation a little. So the saturation, maybe I should put it on 0.1 or no 0.03. So let's look at the way it works. So you can see the difference. The colors, they improved a little. So that's for the saturation. And we can just continue. Then we begin to look. You see, this area is very very bright, and if you see the way it was managed here, let's see, it's actually the same way. It's actually the same way. You'll see that the the where is that image? Why is it that I'm picking something else? Okay, you see that the light is coming from this angle. It's this, so we can actually try as much as possible to position the light a little bit better. And this is actually what takes a lot of time, because you will need to adjust. So you can see the problem now is, as you are trying to move the sun, a lot of things are happening, and everything is slowed down a little. This is why I said you should not use anything less than okay. I think I'm okay with this, even though it's not totally. I don't want to be wasting time finding the correct angle of the sun like that I used here. The most important thing is for you to understand that there's correct angle to use. And the image look warm now because of this. So maybe I should. So what happened about the sun, whether V-Ray sun or Corona sun, is that if they go up, then the image will be cooler. But if they go down, the image will be warmer, because it is actually mimicking real life situation. So we'll just find a position that works, and this takes a lot of time, to be very very honest with you, and that's what I do every time. I don't accept what the software is giving me. I try as much as possible to play with the direction of the light and get something good out. Another thing I'm noticing is that this particular shrub is small, and I could remember that I actually edited the scale. So you can see the scale is from 30 to 35. Maybe we should put it on 50 to 60. Okay. Now, if the image is still warm, it seems like it's warm. So now I also don't like, I'll show you what I don't like now. After some seconds now, it will turn like this. Everything will be blurry. I don't like that, and the best way to handle that is to go to, sorry, this is not what I want to pick. Render setup. This is not it. So for the render setup, you go to performance, and you'll see denoising during rendering is using NVIDIA GPU. So I'll click none, and with that, I will now have all those blurry, splotchy effects again. And I'm just thinking, what can I do? What should I remove? And everything still look good. Okay, I think I should move this a little out like that. This is where my composition comes in, adjusting things and making sure that you have what is really, really good. So I'm going to work on the material. The material for this class is actually not giving me what I want. So maybe I should delete all this material and bring that glass material in. So this glass, what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to refraction, which is 1, and reduce it to like 0.8. So the amount of light that is going to pass through it is not much. Again, you can see now it's coming up, but it's still not there yet. So maybe I should deal with the higher and give it like 3. That's much, but I think with it you can see how the glass change in reflection. So very, very important to know what you need to change per time. So that is how to handle that glass when you see that it's not giving you the kind of reflection that you want. So everything seems to be coming out better now, better. And I'm supposed to put a lamp here, which is actually a spotlight. So what else do I supposed to do? I'm just trying to, now instead of using when you use this exposure, you can come also to this plus sign here and add highlight compression. So there are 2 ways to add highlight compression. Is either you use this or you use curve control. So if I use curve control, you can see advanced filmic. So if I enable it, you see you can edit it. You can we have shoulder, we have toe. So for the shoulder strength, I can put it on 10. I can put the shoulder strength on 10, and nothing, you can see that it is actually reducing. So but I use advanced filmic in V-Ray. I don't use it in Corona. Rather, I use this highlight compression here. So now with that, I can actually compress. You can see, can compress it very well, and it's going to take those overbright area down. So you need to be careful with it. Maybe we should just use, oops, if I don't put it, something's wrong here. Okay, it's on 1 by default, so you just press it. Now for a daytime rendering, you wouldn't need light from this light source. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to click on it, open it, select light for the selection filter and off that light, close. Then I think I need to scale it up a little. So let's give it 200, 200 and 200. Yeah. So if you notice, when I was scaling, I right click on the scale and I see that we have 150 here, 150 here, 150 here. If I come here and set this 100 here, this is 100% of the 200. So if I set it to, let's say, 150 now, it will change everything to 300. That's why I did them, individually, on the axis. And I think 300 might actually be what we are looking for. Okay, I think the 300 is, looking good. So you can still look and see if you need anything. For now, I think what I need here, which is actually the major thing um in Corona. So if I enable this, you see that everything changed. So I don't like the process of ACs. So I can right click and delete that one out of the way. Every other thing here is okay by me. So if I now had LUT, which is LUT, and enable it, you can see it's changing the way everything looks. I can elapse it and find the one I think is going to give me a better output for the image. So this one looks nice. This one looks nice. Let me off and on it and see the difference. You can see it really looks nice. It's bringing out those details and effects very well. And I think I'm going to go for it, but let's try and see if we can get any other one that will look nice as well. So there's this too, which is actually good. It's brightening up this area. So what's the name? So I think I'm going to use it, and I can reduce the opacity if I feel like it's too strong. So I can actually make it like 0.5, 0.8, 0.9, 0.5. I think 0.5 is okay. So it doesn't have to be too strong, but it makes everything come out, lively and very much okay. So that's for that. If you notice, the image is a little bit different from what we have here because the time it took me to create this, I must not spend that time here. It's going to be boring. So, but all the little things that you need to adjust, you can continue and adjust them. I think for this facade, maybe I should select the material and adjust it a little. Maybe even for this glass, maybe I should put it on 3.5. So it's going to be a little bit, stronger. And I'm going to select this. So for this, I can change the scale. This is just the color. So there's nothing to change there. It's just the textures here. So why do I feel like I should change the scale? Because that's one of the questions that people used to ask me that, okay, you changed something, but how did you know that you're supposed to change that thing, especially for beginners? So one of the things you are going to see is that these elements, there are some kind of patches that are repeating themselves. So, and one of the things I can do to correct that is to change the scale of the texture itself. So here right now, everything is just the way they are there. They are not real world scale. So I can enable real world scale on each of those. And they are going to be one mm size, and if you look at them, there is basically no difference. You can do region render. So to check very well, you'll see that there is basically no difference between them. But as I begin to change those sizes, so let me just put it on 10, width and height as 10, and that's what I'm going to do to all of them. So now let's look. You can see how strong they are now. So they are very, very strong. But this is actually the scale that I want, but I don't want them to be this strong. So if I don't want them to be this strong, but I like the scale, so what am I going to do? What I'm going to do, you can see that there is no patches, there is nothing, everything is just like all those tyroline effect. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to come to the stucco object and I'm going to scroll down to the maps, and I'm going to come to the bump. The bump is 1, so I'm going to put it on 0.5 and see the effect. So the effect is still too strong, so I'm going to put it on 0.05. Now you can see the effect is not that strong again. Now it's getting closer to what we have here. The only difference is the texture that was used here is totally different. So it's totally different from this. And let's just continue. So the bump effect is not strong again. Maybe I should reduce it a little bit to 0.03. Now for the material itself, I think if you notice on this particular one is a little bit glossier. You can see the glossiness. So I can do the same thing on this material. Just come to the diffuse. Under the reflection, you'll see that the glossiness is 0.45. I can put it on 0.6. You can see it's much more glossier now. So let's look at it. You can see the glossiness is much more there. So I think maybe 0.7. Maybe 0.7, but you should know that the direction of light is totally different from what we have here. So it's not going to give us the same effect. Of course, this also is high resolution and also have what's it called? We have done the post production on it too. So that's some of the things you need to take note. And also, I didn't use the sun. I use HDRI. I don't want to go into the topic of HDRI now. So you can see we have some cloud in the reflection of the glass, and we can do that here too. We can do that here, even though that one was HDRI, we can actually introduce something like that. What we are going to do is to come to the material editor and sorry, here's my material editor again. Let me close all this. When you open too much tabs, you are going to be having the stress that I'm having here. So open environment under rendering and click on the environment. Now this is Corona Sky. Drag it into the material editor, and on it you just double click on it and enable. Scroll down and you see cloud parameter. Just enable clouds, and with that you have cloud. You can see the cloud now in the. So let me disable everything so that we are going to see the clouds and how it actually look good. So we can edit it to suit what we want. So one of the things I'll do on the cloud first is I'll play with the cirrus or cirrus. So I'll play with it so that I'll have much more upper clouds. So let me put it on 1. You can see it. You can see the effect. So now I think maybe I should just use 0.75. I don't want it to be too much. Maybe 0.8. So the cloud itself, I don't want it to be too strong too. You can see here I maybe use 0.3. So you can see we have few clouds right now, but it is affecting the effect that I have on this glass. So maybe I should just leave it at 0.5 and find another way to work it out, which is actually in the cloud positioning. So the cloud positioning, the altitude is 1000 meters, then the height is 500. So the offset, maybe I should do the offset, just play with it, maybe 1000 meters as well on x axis. So let's see the way it is. You can see the movement now, and on y axis maybe 1000. Let's see the way it works first. So sometimes it's going to be guesswork. You are going to actually be playing with it before you get what will work. So there is no hard rule to it than just playing with it. Let me put it back on 0. So let me put this also. Let me try. So minus 100 meters. Let me see. So what I'm trying to do is I'm trying to get rid of this. I want to see this in my, a reflection, but I don't like this at all. So that's what I'm trying to do. 200. So it hasn't gone yet. Yes, I think we are getting there. Kindly pardon me for some disturbance. You might have heard some some disturbance on the door. So it's in the morning. We are already in the morning, yeah. So I'm recording, and my daughter wants to greet me. So if you say I should stop recording, there's nothing I can do. So I just have to quickly go and tell her that I'm busy a little. So I'm just when it comes to this, you just have to. Okay, I think I need a softer shadow. I need a softer shadow, and if you check here, I actually positioned a tree around here to give me a very nice effect like this. So let me just find a way to do something similar. So let's just pick a tree, position that tree. It takes a lot to do this because you need to actually experiment with it. Okay, does it work? Now it's not casting shadow. You can see it's not casting the shadow. So you try to know, okay, which position can the sun be and which position can the object itself be. So this is one of the reasons that the job takes a while, because you will need to actually plan it very well and see the result that you want. So I'm trying to push. Okay, now it's coming. And as it is coming, you begin to see, okay, does it make sense for me to do this? Okay, because even though it looks like it is working, is it not really affecting the whole, you know, stuff that I want to do? Then maybe I should pull it back here. Then maybe I should scale it, so it's going to be the branches and the leaves that are going to be showing. You just have to play with it until you see something that actually suits what you want. Then the types of trees also matter. Is it, big tree that have big, you can see the effect now is very, very crazy. So does it have big leaves? So, or scanty leaves? So all those things are going to actually affect. I don't know the particular, this rendering is more than 3 4 years, so I don't know the particular tree that I used here, but I know that the tree does not have too many leaves. So what I'm going to do in that regard is maybe I should delete this particular tree. This guy here might be useful for that, so I'm going to copy it. I'm going to copy it out as instance, but scale it. So it's going to cast shadow, not casting it yet. So you can rotate, just find a way. So all those effects I like because it makes the you can see the shadow now. So I know what to do. Move it. It makes it look a little bit much more realistic. And those are the things that you see definitely on a day-to-day basis. So it's going to make sense. There's the shadow here. Maybe, excuse me, maybe I should push it in a little. It's not going to show in the camera anyway because we are still around here. So, but I want that shadow, and that's what I do. So I always, look into all those little effects. You can see now this little effect is really, really awesome, but it's strong. This one is soft, very, very soft, so that it's not going to override everything. So what to get that soft effect, you are going to do it in the sun. So you're going to do it on the sun, and what you are going to do is you're going to now on the sun you can set the intensity. I don't do that, but you can set the size. So size I usually use between 3 and 5, but 3 I think will be okay. It will give a soft effect on the shadow. So you can see now the shadow is not as strong as before. It's not as strong as before. There are some couple of things that were done in this particular image that, if I should start now, will take us a lot of time, like the lights that was put here. Okay, I can put those lights. At least I have not talked about lights, for a while now. So let's just, you can see this shadow is soft, but I think I should put it on 5. Now, the downside to what we are doing right now is that the softer the shadow is, the longer it's going to take to render your image, but no problem. So the shadow is soft. It's not as perfect as this, but you get the point I'm trying to make. Also, I think the exposure should be like around -3. No, -4. Yes, but I still think so. -4 is okay by me. Some areas are overexposed. Then I can do the highlight compression. You can see. So I think I prefer that. So this floor, this interlocking here, I think the paving stones, I think they should be a little bit darker. So That is why I deliberately created the materials before I put the lighting. So do the lighting, because if I do the lighting first, then I will need to be adjusting a lot of time, and I don't want to be doing that. But whichever way, it can still work. So when you double click on the bitmap, you scroll down and you see output size, output rather. So you enable color map, you scroll down again, you click on this edge and you right click and choose Bezier corner, and you can drag it down like this. So this side represents the darker side, and if you go like this a little, you will see the brighter side. So this one will handle the brighter pixels, this one will handle the darker pixels. So you can see now it's actually much more definitive, and I think it's okay. I think it's okay. So you can play with the white balance. So if I put the white balance of 4500, image becomes cooler. It's not, warm again. And by default, it is warm. So maybe I should just put it like around 6000. So, and be careful because it's daylight. Daylight is actually going to be a little bit warm. So maybe we should use 6300. Yeah, I think 6300 is okay for me. So you can see we have a little bit of warmness, on this, and I think it's cool to use that. Every other thing here are just a matter of, you place some, little objects, all the trees and all these things around here, which whether I put them or not, you already understand how to work with them because I've explained them, so much. Let me just see some of the things that can be adjusted, because now it's just to adjust. Don't worry. I said I'm going to put that light over there. I am not forgetting. So this scale, maybe we should use 30 to 35. I just feel like they need to come up a little bit. Of course, in this case here, I didn't put these edges around here, but some of those things that we do. Of course, the texture here is totally different. These ones are bigger, these ones are smaller. So let's scale those ones too. So just like we did, let it still be darker. So these are 1000. I'm going to set them to 2000. 2000. Here, 2000. So that's 2000. So let me just quickly stop the rendering and show you how to create those lights around there, because it makes that area brighter and gives us a nice effect too. For those lights, there are many ways I do them before, but I found a simple way. So the simple way is you create light. So is it how you come here? Let's come here under light, corona light. And for that corona light, we are just going to choose under shape, we are going to choose rectangular light, and we are just going to draw it like this. Now we can move it to around here and set it to, I think the width is going to be around 100. Okay, it's going to be like 50. Yeah. So I'm going to move it. So that's like around 7 meters, I guess. So, and this is one of the reasons that I like to, okay, that should be 7.2. I like to make my modeling in Revit than any other applications. Of course, in other applications, you can set your dimensions, but the way I set it in Revit is quite is I just like it. I just like it. In 3ds Max it is a little bit technical, even though it's still very effective, but for me it's a little bit. So I copy it as an instance. Oh, what's happening? Okay, it's there as an instance. I put it there. So now I can select both of them. They are not on, I can on them and move them up. So then I can go to the side, press E to rotate. So press Shift to rotate, to copy, to clone. So as instance, then I can move them like this. And now let's go to the back and scale, press scale to scale them down. So it doesn't have to be totally perfect. You just have to make sure that it gives you what you want. So that's it. That's for that place. And isolate. And now you can. It's doing auto save, but I'm going to save also myself. So having done that, I'm still going to come back to this to explain some things about it. So having done that, now let's check the way everything looks again. Oh, that is not what I want to do. I don't want to do final rendering yet. So we'll just have to cancel. So it's interactive rendering that we are doing. So I'm just going to start IPR again. It's taking a while, or we'll just have to wait for it. Oh, it's back. So you can see the lights over there. Now those lights are too much because this is their intensity, very much. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to reduce the intensity to from 30,000 to 1,000. So you can see it's minimal now. So it's trying that light, around here to actually give that effect. This area was dark before, so we don't need much. We just need that little touch. Also, normally I'm supposed to put this right here, there. So, but you already understand how to, because, okay, let's do this. You go to 3D Sky, because I've not told you how you can get components if you don't have. So let me just chip it in here, but I believe that there are so many people that already know how to get. So the internet is actually bad. So let's not stress, but you go to 3dsky.org, you register with them. It's for free registration. Then you can get free models or the ones that are paid models as well. I do buy from them. I buy a lot from them. So $7 per component. So you just go there. That is where I found this guy here. So I edited it a little anyway, but that's just for that. You can see that our image is coming out really nice because of all this tone mapping. You can see the exposure. We just worked on everything. The contrast, the saturation a little bit. So now let's go to what this guy is telling us here. So say a normal appear to be using incorrect image, using input image with incorrect gamma. So if I select the object, I know what it will be. Yes, I know it's going to be this, and all I can do is to select that object. So there are a lot of materials on it. So, and we are going to correct all the gammas one by one. So, and the gamma is coming from normal map. It's coming from normal. It's coming from normal, but I'm not seeing. There used to be, seem like some things have changed in 12. In normal map, there used to be gamma correction. There's a place I used to set the gamma correction. This is, I told you, it's supposed to be here. The file, the system itself, I think, have issues about the size. So I used to set all the gamma. I used to set it back from what it was, but normally in a situation like this, it's not going to change anything. So I'm just going to leave it. So I can dismiss that particular error. You can say dismiss. Yeah. So ignore similar. Ignore similar. Oops. It said required assets. So there are some assets that their texture are not there, but I'm just still going to ignore this. Combination of orthographic camera and screen size displacement can consume a lot of memory. We recommend switching to word space displacement and select an appropriate tessellation size. Well, I I don't have any problem with that. I don't even know what that means. So now I told you that Corona takes a lot from your RAM, and that's why I used to recommend for a starter. You can see we only did something simple, and it is saying that the system is running low on RAM. It has already used, a lot of RAM already. So everything that we have is 31.5 of physical size, and Corona break down how it used the RAM and everything that it used, the heaviest texture that we have there, and all that. But so far, the rendering is ongoing and we don't have any problem. So I'll just leave it as it is. But sometimes you will have problem, and everything we've done now is we just brought all the objects and the components, we brought them together and got something done. In some project, you cannot just do this. You cannot just add everything together and move on. No, it's not going to work because the project might be big. Like when you are doing real estate, you will need to actually look into everything one by one, because especially when you don't have enough RAM. This system that I'm using is using 32 gig RAM. And of course, there's another desktop. This is a laptop that I'm using to record. There's another desktop that uses 96 gig RAM and can use up to 128 gig RAM. So you need to understand all this, that your your machines, your equipment are actually going to be a major thing when I'm very, very sorry, pardon me. You might be hearing, when you are in a domestic environment, so many things can actually happen. So you get what I'm trying to say. Get a good computer if you want to be using Corona. And that's why sometimes when people ask me, oh, they want to start using Corona, and I look at them and I feel like, oh no, you should not use Corona. Try and use V-Ray. And they say, oh, they have been seeing a lot of good jobs that people are doing on Corona, and it seems like Corona is the best because that's the impression that many people give, that Corona, because Corona is, straight out of the box, but it has its own weak points, which are actually, if you don't have a very, very good computer, then you are going to suffer for it. You can see how everything is now. The software is, sorry, the rendering is not stable or is slowing down because of RAM. So I'm just going to wait for it. And those are the major challenges that you are going to have. It's easy to set up, as you can see, but when it comes to computer power, it takes a lot of RAM, especially to actually use Corona very well. So I'm going to pause the recording, and when it's done, I'm going to show you what is there. So we have done basically everything. It's now time to do the final rendering too. So I'm going to pause. When it starts rendering again, I'm going to stop it and do final rendering. I'm going to show you some things, settings also, for the final rendering. Nothing much. So I'm going to wait for it.